all's well that ends well,
It
right?
didn't start off too well.
All's well that ends
Yeah, I
well.
tell ya.
No, it was a bleak start, that's for sure.
I don't, you know, and our quarterback went to the hospital.
He got hurt the first half.
Across the street for an X-ray, came back and won the game. Sure he did. I'm sure he did. He played on an hour and a half. Well, yeah.
This is the quarterback. The game's going on. Get him in the X-ray.
We got a touchdown on the way here, 21-12.
Okay, good. They missed the point after again, didn't they? What's wrong with those guys? They did.
He did that last year at the Super Bowl.
All right. We have some business to take care of, and I will open the business meeting up with a prayer, and we will get started first with the election of officers, and we'll have Bob come up and do that, and then after that, we'll talk about the parking lot. So, would you bow with me? Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we are so grateful that we have this opportunity to come together as a branch to discuss those things that we want to implement, and with the officers of next year and parking lot. We want to be able to have good discussion, and we're just so thankful that we have this opportunity. I pray that you would attend, that your Spirit would direct us, and that we would bring you glory in everything that we do. In Jesus' name, amen. Like I said, I think, I guess since this is a business meeting, we need to have a second to call the business meeting in order and ask for a second. Bob, I was going to say, nobody rush their hands open there. Bob has a second, and so I declared the business meeting open. And we're going to have Bob come up, and he's going to do the officers for the next year. Bob?
Evening, Living Hope. We'll try and do this. I know last time I did this, we did it pretty quickly. I think some of these are actually appointed positions, some are elected. We'll probably run a vote on all of them as we go down. You'll see the 2024 officers in the left-hand column and the nominees for 2025. They would be essentially my nominees in the next column. But there's room for the floor to nominate anybody for any of these positions, if you wish. The only condition is you would have to have cleared it with the person before you nominate somebody. So with that known, and Rich has been nice enough to put it on the board for us as well. So I'm going to go through this fairly quickly. The corporate officers, according to our bylaws, are Jack, Elsie, Monica, Pam, and Julie is the assistant treasurer. Any other nominees for positions for those officer positions? All in favor by hand? Anybody opposed? Elected. My pastoral counselors, and I think this is one where you can vote to sustain or not vote to sustain. The counselors that I have chosen for the coming year are Ivan Bird, Larry Kane, Andrew Neal, and Pete Peterson. All in favor of those being our counselors? Thank you. The following list that you see next is a concept that I have come up with that I think makes sense for us as we continue to grow and move toward the establishment of the cause of Zion. It's my desire to get those people that have agreed and tonight will be elected to leadership positions of various categories. For example, the church school director, the music director, the domestic ministry director, the priesthood home ministry coordinator, and the women's leader. I would like to have that core group of people become counselors to the pastorate. Now, what that's going to mean, that just opens the pastorate up to more input from men and women that are not on the pastorate. The proposed pastorate actually met a week ago, And I think there's support for this idea. What we will probably do going forward into 25 is once a quarter, when the pastorate meets, the pastorate will probably meet monthly. Once a quarter, we'll have this leadership, these leadership coordinators join the pastorate and bring to the pastorate ideas that they may have heard coming out of the congregation. So that's a new idea for us. I hope you can support that idea. And now we haven't elected these people yet, but these positions that you see on the left will be asked to join the leadership council. So I guess probably as we go through, has anybody got any objection to that concept? Janet? My wife is objecting. Don't give her the mic.
I'm not objecting. I'm just apologizing for the misspelling of Joy Kane.
Oh. We won't vote. So I'm not hearing objection to the concept of having a leadership council. And when we elect these positions, as we go down, they'll automatically fill spots into the leadership council. Does that make sense? So we don't need to vote on that right now. We'll go down now to priesthood scheduling. Larry's done it for a number of years. I know he did a wonderful job of it this year. I'm going to let him not have to do that for another year. And James Andrews has agreed to do that. Any other nominees to do that? All in favor of James Andrews doing our priesthood scheduling? Thank you. Children's Church School Director has been and will continue to be Sherry McAmer. Any other nominees for that position? All in favor? Thank you. She's done a wonderful job with our kids also. Financial positions, Debt Reduction Committee. Richard Neal has been in charge of that, I think, since its inception, any number of years ago. James Andrews has agreed to help him, assist him in that position. Any other suggestions for that position? All in favor? Thank you. Freedom Stewardship Ministries. Our congregation leads Freedom Stewardship Ministries, to be honest with you, and I'm the director of Freedom Stewardship Ministries, but I'm not the representative from our branch. Elsie Lasley has been the representative of our branch. He has been chairman of the board of the Affiliate Council of Freedom Stewardship Ministries until this year. So I'm suggesting that the Freedom Stewardship Ministries rep for this congregation continue to be Elsie Lasley. All in favor of that? Thank you. The Oblation Committee. Elsie has been appointed, and then we've got elected positions. I have appointed Elsie again to lead our Oblation Committee. Vaughn Cornish. Lisa Smith does not have time. She called me today or yesterday and told me that she doesn't have time to do this, and so you can scratch her name off of there. And Aubrey Wilson, and then I think Alan Rush has suggested his name. Is that correct? So those, do I have anybody else? Any other ideas? Yes. Yes. Get the mic because people are online.
Question. Looking further down, I see that Vaughn is also an auditor. Can we have Vaughn be in both of those positions, or is that a conflict of interest? Pam says it's not, so question redacted.
She says it's not. Thank you, Pam. Okay, so we've got Oblation Committee will be Elsie, Vaughn, Aubrey, and Alan. All in favor of that group? Thank you. This branch is more generous than any branch I've ever been involved in giving to Oblation. We've helped and continue to help a lot of families. I know, Larry, that we've helped a lot of families during this past year, so God bless us for doing that. Auditors, Vaughn Cornish and Esther Hinkle. Anybody else do I hear? All in favor of those two as our auditors? Thank you. Page 2. We're going through this pretty quickly. Building Committee. Brother Bill Barrett has, of course, been our building coordinator and in charge of our building committee for long as I've been here. I don't know how long. I think my name's on there ex officio as the pastor of the branch next year. I've asked Mike Hood, who is an electrician by trade, to be on our building committee also. He's agreed. And James Andrew, I guess some of these positions are already on because they have been on. Mike Hood is new, and he'll be on for a 3-year term. James is already on, and Elsie's on. So that would comprise our building committee. All in favor of those? Anybody opposed at all? Thank you. I twisted Helen Brown's arm and about being our kitchen manager. Dawn Peterson has done it, and we're just giving her a break, and Helen has agreed to do it. All in favor of Helen to be our kitchen coordinator. Thank you. Okay, our evangelistic ministry. Brother Jim Nolan he's not here tonight because he's out doing evangelism work as he does almost every night of the week. And so I've asked him to be in charge of our domestic outreach. And Ed Mason has agreed to be his assistant in that role. All in favor of those? Thank you. Our foreign ministry leader has always been 70 Richard Neal. He's going to continue in that role. All in favor of that? Thank you. Our head deacon has and will continue to be nominated at least Brother Bill Brown. All in favor of Brother Bill? It's good to have Bill back, although I understand he's not feeling all that well tonight again. So let's keep Bill in our prayers. Home ministry is something you'll probably be hearing more about this coming year. Yes? I'm sorry. I'm glad you asked. Okay, the neighborhood network. I'm skipping things. Forging Fellowship. Brother Larry, do you have anything to say to us on Forging Fellowship? Let's get him a mic.
I have asked a couple of couples to help Tiffany and Jordan. I have not heard, and with Tiffany, I have not heard back from her if she wants to continue. So I don't know how we can.
For purposes of tonight, do you want to put your name down here, take the lead in Forging Fellowship to keep it going?
Yes,
and establish a budget for it?
That's fine. Okay.
Forging Fellowship, let me just put in a little bit of a plug for Forging Fellowship. And I'm going to confess to this congregation, I did not always support Forging Fellowship, and that was a mistake on my part. And I have been going to Forging Fellowship most recently and found that it's a wonderful opportunity for us to approach, I think it's the fourth Wednesday, is that when it is, Larry? Fourth Wednesday, a little bit differently. Now this coming year, there's a good possibility that after the Forging Fellowship, which I think gets over at 7:15, we will probably have a traditional prayer service afterwards, starting at 7:30. My hope would be that as a congregation, we will support both of those activities on the fourth Wednesday night. Come to share a meal and share fellowship and ministry at the Forging Fellowship hour and a half, and then stay for the prayer service. It'll start then at 7:30. So that's just a little plug I'm putting in on Forging Fellowship. It was Larry's initiative, Larry and Joy's initiative last year, and it has blessed the congregation. We're getting a number of young people that support that typically we don't see on Wednesday nights. Can't be a bad thing. It's a positive thing. So that's just a little bit of a plug. And Larry has agreed to find somebody to help him in that particular role. I might just add one other thing. Those of you that support Forging Fellowship, I happen to know that Sister Joy, there's a meal every time of one sort or another, and I think Joy has been preparing all those meals. And I would like to suggest that those who support Forging Fellowship, I hope we all do, will raise their hand and go to Larry and say, I'll bring the meal this time, or I'll help with the meal. We can't have one family do all the meals every fourth Wednesday. It would, as I said to Larry, I think it'll just wear you out. I mean, it's just going to wear her out. So let's keep that in mind. And as we support Forging Fellowship at 5:45 on the fourth Wednesday here, let's raise our hand and help with the meals for that also. So Larry's name is in Forging Fellowship. All in favor of that? Thank you. Bill Brown, we've already voted on. Neighborhood Network. Y'all are familiar with our Neighborhood Network. We've had it here, 10 years. Richard Neal started it. Buck and LaDonna have been yeomen to run Neighborhood Network for this branch. I'm going to be honest with you, we don't have it. I kind of look at it as one of the outreach missions that we have at this church. You know, we feed right now 15 families. We bring food for 15 families. There have been a couple of issues with it I just want to lay on the table. Number one, the food that we get from harvesters has become less and less and less and less. Seems like every week Janet and Elsie do a lot of the shopping. We go over there early Tuesday morning, once a month, pick up the food. There's less food every time. But they haven't cut us out of it yet. I got a hand raised, but I'll get to you, James, in just a second. I would like us to continue with it. Sister LaDonna has indicated that she will continue to take the lead in it. I know she'll want Buck to help her with it. And I know Richard, I think, has been running a lot of the meetings here lately. I would like to keep it going. LaDonna's indicated she will allow her name to continue to stand to coordinate that. Did you have your hand up, James?
Yes. We did get a text from Richard saying he would still be part of Neighborhood Networks.
So we'll put those two names on this line, Richard Neal and LaDonna, and let's put Buck's name on there also. I'll twist his arm and tell him he's been nominated for it. Anybody else interested in being intimately involved in Neighborhood Network? This branch goes and picks up food one Tuesday every month. Outreach goes 2 weeks later and picks up food. The other problem we've had with Neighborhood Network is we're not getting a lot of support from outreach. And generally what we have to do is they do have somebody that goes picks up food, and then people from this branch have to come in and unload it and put it on tables back here. I'm just asking anybody that's interested in that ministry, which feeds 15 families currently and has fed other families going way back that have graduated and don't need that help anymore. It's a wonderful ministry for this branch. It makes this branch, you know, somebody asked me the theme, it's to know Jesus and to make him known. We can make him known by serving that food to those families. So if you're interested in that, you know who to talk to, because we've got 3 nominees here, and please help us if you can. All in favor of those 3 nominees? Thank you. Any other comments on Neighborhood Network? Support or detract? Okay. It's a good ministry. Priesthood Home Visiting. Brother Scott Easton, I don't know whether you all know it, but does it all the time for this branch. Doesn't look for any accolades for doing it. And so now his name's gone up in lights, and I've asked him to lead our home ministry along with Brother Jack. And so the 2 of them have agreed. Anybody else nominated for home ministry? All in favor? Again, I'll do another pitch to the priest. Our women do home ministry, I think, once a month? Do you do it as often as once a month, Connie?
A lot on her own.
Okay.
Sherry does a lot on her own, and maybe once a quarter.
Okay.
Or maybe 3 times a year. That's
Okay.
in place of our women's meeting.
Okay, and it's a wonderful ministry that our women bring. Priesthood men, we're going to try and ramp that up again this year and get into the homes. We don't know the members of our branch just because we sit next to them at 10:30 on Sunday morning. We need to get in the homes. So we're going to do more of that. All in favor of those 2, Scott and Jack, leading up that ministry? Thank you. Prayer Walk and 24-hour prayer that's been supported by this branch now for several years. It was founded by Sister Linda Trimble. She's agreed to continue with that ministry. All in favor of Sister Linda? Let's support her in that. Prison ministry. Scott has also approached me about us establishing a prison ministry, and Brother Mike Sperry has agreed to assist him in that ministry. We'll see where that goes. I think it'd be a wonderful thing for us to do. Those two brothers have agreed to lead that ministry. All in favor of those two brothers. Thank you. Shepherding Group Coordinator has been, and I'm recommending Brother Ken Schmidt to continue in that role. He called me the other night. I'm going to be honest with you. I think the shepherding groups have blessed this congregation beyond what I would have ever thought they would have. I just didn't have any experience with them in the past. I think they've been wonderful. We've been more involved in the Friday night one than we have the Tuesday and Sunday. I think I've talked to Ken a little bit. He may be meeting with the leaders of those 3 shepherding groups just to see, is there anything we need to do to freshen them up? Do we need to invite people maybe to switch groups and to get to know others? That would be the member's choice to do that. But I think Ken may be considering having that discussion just to see where do we go next with our shepherding group. I've been very pleased with it. I think it's been wonderful for us. And Ken has agreed to lead that again. All in favor of Brother Ken. Thank you. Team Jesus Liaison has been, and I suspect will continue to be, Sister Muriel Ludeman. All in favor of Sister Muriel. Thank you. And welcoming, I'm giving too many speeches here, but Sister Monica has been our welcomer. You know, I usually get here pretty early on Sunday mornings. Seldom do I beat Monica here. She greets you at the door. She's done a beautiful job. She's natural for doing it. I've asked her to do it again. Thank you very much, Monica. All in favor of supporting her. Thank you. Okay, we're getting there. Pete and Don have agreed to do our bulletins again. I don't think anybody else wants to do that. All in favor of Pete and Don doing our bulletins. Thank you. Janet has and will continue to be a scheduler for the church property. Everybody around the center place knows that. I think it makes sense for her to continue to do that. All in favor. Janet will continue to schedule. Our email has been done by Jean. She's agreed to continue to do that. All in favor of Sister Jean. Now I'm going fast through this because we've got another meeting coming up after this. So we're going to talk about our parking lot. If I'm going too fast, stop me. Okay, otherwise I'll roll on. Phone tree and texting, Sister Becky State, and I could give you another testimony. I know, I'm sure Larry does the same thing. I asked Becky if she'll send something out. I mean, I can't even hang up the phone before she gets it sent out. Thank you, Becky, for that ministry. All in favor of supporting her in that. Thank you. Projectionist, Linda Trimble. Assistant projectionist, Ken Schmidt. Ken did it this morning. They both do a wonderful job. All in favor there. Thank you. Security officer has been Bruce. We haven't had any instances, so he must be doing a good job. All in favor of Brother Bruce. Technical ministries. Anybody doesn't vote for Rich Hinkle for this is going to be told to leave this branch. He does. I mean, I can't imagine anybody more faithful to be here every time this church is open and do our technical. All in favor of Brother Rich. You can vote with both arms if you want to. I'm voting with both arms. Thank you, Rich. Yeah. Okay, where did I get? Assistant technical. One thing that I know we have needed, I know Larry has known we've needed for a long time, is somebody to back him up. You know, what do we do for the saints in Ohio and the saints in Oregon if Rich is not here? You know, we can't. So he's got a... Ivan Bird has agreed to be his backup and learn how to do all that, and we'll have a backup. All in favor of Ivan Bird. Thank you. Pray for Ivan. He's still in the hospital. I think had a pretty good day yesterday. I think a little rougher day today. So let's continue to pray for Brother Ivan. Men's ministry has been and is nominated Pete Peterson. All in favor. Thank you. People are starting to raise their hand now before I even ask for it. I like the way this is rolling. Women's ministry, boy, oh boy. Again, I haven't ever been in the branch that does such a wonderful job and it's because of the leadership of Sherry and Connie in our women's ministry, and they've agreed to continue. All in favor of those two women. Okay, so they'll be members of the council, the coordinator, or whatever we call the council. Moms and mentor, baby and bridal showers and moms and mentors has and will continue to be Joy Kane. She's agreed to do that. All in favor there. Children's choir, Sister Rachel has agreed to continue to do that. All in favor. Did they do a good job today? Every time. The Neals have been junior church coordinators and have done a wonderful job with that. All in favor of the Neals and supporting the Neals. Kingdom Kids, Becky's child. All in favor? Thank you, Sister Becky. Zions League. When we get some Zions League kids, we'll find a Zions League leader. Librarians will continue to be Rebecca and Margaret. All in favor? Thank you. Choir director, let's see, music ministry has been really a bright spot for us, in my judgment, this past year, and Joy has agreed to take that again. All in favor of supporting Joy. Thank you. We don't have a choir director. We don't have a choir at this point in time. If somebody feels led to, I'd love for us to have a choir. I'd love for us to have a praise band, maybe once a month or so. If we could do that, I mean, if you know how to get that done for us, let me know. So if we get a interest in a choir and a pianist that's willing to play for us, we'll think about the choir director again. Social directors have been Gail and Sarah and Emma McLean, and Thoric and Sarah have agreed to take that again, have agreed to take that this year. All in favor? Thank you, brother. I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you, Branch.
Budget meeting in a month. Ken? Good deal. Oh, yeah, the Mavericks have started. Yeah, I think that was a group. All right, let's make this next item as fast as we just did all that. If any of you were not here, I just want to refresh your memory. The last time we talked about this was about a month ago, and we determined to table this for more information. I want to encourage that is what we're going to do, is give you more information. And obviously, if we get a motion to vote, we'll do that. But if it's just information you want, I encourage to do that. And because there's not a deadline that we have to meet to get this done, we want to make an informed decision. So I just want to put that out there, that we do not have to have a vote. We can, make a time frame to have this done, to contemplate on that, because some of the things have changed, and I want Bill Barrett to come forward, since he is the information manager on the parking lot. We have an overhead that you guys can look at, and he can field any question that you have.
Put up the diagram for the 90-degree parking, please. I don't have a pointer, but you can see that our church building is on the right. The driveway coming in is on the left. This shows I don't know if you, there's a little bit missing at the top there, I think. It shows 70 parking places. Yeah. I can't read that. There's 4 handicap parking places by the building. Well, right now there's 7, but we're going to have to put aisles in between those according to the code. Oh, thank you. Okay. So I called and checked on it. These islands here in the center are not necessary. You can have up to 20 spaces between the landscape buffers. And so we can take those out. That gives us a couple more, and a third one there, spaces to park. I don't think we need one here at the end because this is all grass and trees. So I think that's sufficient for landscape next to the parking on that side. We have a tree line over here. The problem, not problem, one of the concerns with this layout is there's 10 feet between the fence line and the starting of the parking. That is required per code. It only leaves us 3 feet over here between the parking spaces and the tree line. So I would propose to the city, ask for a variance, that we cut this down to 7 feet, and that would give us 6 feet over there on that side. So we would just shift our parking lot by 3 feet from this diagram. Are there any questions on that? Also, there's no, well, this is all grass, so I think that's sufficient for these parking spaces. Pam?
Yes, we use the handicap parking that we have now every Sunday. It's usually full. So we're cutting some out. So where would you plan on adding additional handicap parking?
We could make these 2 spots probably handicap parking, so that that would be the closest ones to the door. I also need to ask the city if these aisles are required because we have that space next to that lot, that parking space, so we may not need to put in those extra aisles on that end. So that needs to be worked out. Bob?
Somebody mentioned to me this morning, question, I don't even remember who it was, but how wide are the parking spaces?
These that are shown are 9 feet wide. I like 10 feet wide, but 9 feet meets the requirements. With 9-foot parking places, you have a little more tendency to bump your door into the car that's next to you, but it does meet requirements. And they're 18 foot deep, so they're 9 feet wide by 18 foot deep. We're required to have 26 feet between the parking aisles for two-way traffic. Sherry?
Could we have 10 feet wide parking spots so we don't run into each other and have overflow in the playground? Can we still do that?
Yes.
Park
yes,
on the grass?
We can still do that. Yes, we can have 10-foot wide parking places. It would cut down our number of spaces a little bit. All right. If you want to show the next diagram for 60-degree parking. What this does is it narrows the width of the parking lot so that we have 10 feet here and 11 feet here. But it is single, it's not two-way traffic, it's a single direction traffic. And I'm still not sure about whether we have to put shrubbery or something on this end. I don't think so, because that's 20 spaces. And the advantage here is that you have an 8-foot wide walkway between these rows so that you don't have to walk behind the cars. There's 18 feet here between the sets of cars.
Yeah, but I'm saying that the car aisle looks so much smaller.
Yeah, it is smaller because it's going from 26 feet down to 18 feet, but it's a single direction, not dual direction.
Well, by the drawing, it looks like they're 8 feet instead of 18 feet between them.
Well, these are 18 feet long, and that's an 18-foot aisle.
Yeah, but the other one, the other side.
It goes from here to here. That's a dimension line. So it's the same width, yeah. Yes, back in the back.
Yes, this is Verna, and my question is, if the city won't give us a variance for option 1, would we have to consider option 2 then?
If we could live with the 3 feet on that side, no. But if we want, I think they would give us a variance, but if they don't, we would have to live with the 3 feet or go to this design. Elsie?
Well, I don't see what the problem is with the 3 feet, because we've got another, 400 feet on the other side of that, or 300 feet on the other side of that that's lawn now. So what is, why do we need that 11 foot or more than the 3 foot on that tree line?
Right. It's a good question. I mean, you just have to walk in the grass behind the other cars, that's all. So.
Everybody that we set out here in the morning for a greeting, everybody walks out in back of their car. Anyway, nobody walks around the front of them that I've seen.
Right.
So, so that 3 foot would be, I think, sufficient for that.
Okay, right. Yes, Rachel?
Option 2 doesn't give us more parking spaces than option 1, correct?
Maybe one more. Yeah. It's listed right up in the corner. I think it's, nope. I don't know. It's either 69 or 70 spaces, I think. So, are there any other questions on the parking lot layout? Okay, Rich, if we could go to the costs page. So for the 90-degree, with 4 islands, our cost would be $84,838. Branch would need to raise $45,000. We have a anonymous donor that's willing to contribute $40,000 to the parking lot. If on this option, we would put parking blocks at the front of each, at the back, I guess, of each parking stall, so that we'd pull up to a parking block, and that would add a little bit of cost. The third option there is if we would put curbing everywhere. Curbing is more expensive than the parking blocks, so that's quite a bit more cost on that. And it's kind of the same thing on the angle parking. Pam?
Okay, I'm going back to the handicap parking thing again. If you take those 2 spaces that you said, you don't, it's not just 2, because you're going to have to go with the variance to the side of it also. Like we're getting rid of 3 parking spots because you have to put those extra spaces. So if you add 2 more spots out there, you're going to lose 4 spots instead of just 2, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, because you have to have aisles next to them.
Right, because you have to have the aisles next to those also. So I'm just looking at the total number of spaces up here. You have 70 on the one and you have 65 on the other, so you would get down to actually 61 spaces if you only had 2 more versus the 66. I'm just saying if you're looking at the number of spaces and you're going to add, and I think it's necessary we add more handicap parking.
We're only required by code to have 4 handicap spaces for the number of spaces that are in our lot. But to service those who need handicap spaces here in this branch, we need more than 4. So. Dale?
Well, I think the added space on the handicap ones is so you can have van parking. I don't think you have to have all van parking spots in handicap.
You have to have 1 van parking spot, and that needs an 8-foot aisle beside it. The other handicap parking spots need a 5-foot aisle beside them to meet code. Connie?
Yeah, my question is, why do we have all these islands? Do we need those?
Why do we have all these aisles?
Like islands.
Islands.
The islands in the first one and 7 islands in the next one?
According to city code, if you have more than 20 spaces in your parking lot, you have to introduce landscape islands. So it's required by the city. Larry?
We had a concern about the burn off behind us here.
Right.
Did you find out any information about the code on having a burn?
We will have to have water retention area for the runoff of the parking lot. And so we're proposing to put a berm on the north side of the property here on about 2.5 of our neighbors' lots, be in front of those. It would be about 2 feet high, and would taper off on the sides. So it would be about 12 feet across on the base of it, and it would be planted with grass so that we can mow it. And we really need to do that whether we do the parking lot or not, because on a heavy rain, we've got a lot of runoff now that goes over into the neighbors' yards. Two feet is not code. I mean, there's no restriction on the height. It's just a matter of how tall we think we need it to contain the water. So
I just would like to say I like the 90-degree better because I don't think people are going to want to go directional.
Okay. Any other questions? Do we want, Sherry?
I know Connie mentioned having volleyball outside, and she's also just asked about the islands. And you talked about that middle island maybe can be eliminated.
It can be.
So if it can be, if we do not use the bumpers, but only the painted lines, could volleyball be put outside in the middle there?
Volleyball could be played here in the middle if we had just painted lines with no bumper stops. That would be my preference.
And it seems like with the bumpers and snow removal, they get bumped off anyway.
Right.
So just lines, I think, would be, well, lines in the middle, yeah. Probably need some bumpers on the edges. I don't know.
Yeah, Gary?
Yeah, the only thing I'd add about your no bumpers, I agree with that. For the simple fact is, if you're going to have snow plows and trucks and stuff in there, if you start getting that kind of stuff in the way, those snow plows are going to take them out, I'll guarantee you.
Uh-huh.
Need to keep everything as clean as you can.
Right. Dale?
When it's snowy and icy, those bumper blocks will keep you from running across into the front of the other car. I would think that would be much more advantageous than worrying about a volleyball court.
James?
Has any of these proposals been presented to the city yet?
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
Has any proposals been presented to the city yet?
No. I have been in conversation with one of the city planners on discussion on setting up this parking lot. So he's the one that told me we don't need the center islands. Would anybody like to propose that we have a vote on whether to do the parking lot or not? And it may not happen this fall. It would happen when we raise the money, so after we raise the money. Yes?
Bill, you can't call for a vote. That's Larry. You're just giving information.
Okay.
It's up to Larry to call for a vote.
All right.
I have a question. If we vote to do a parking lot, do we have to decide now which one we're going to do?
It's up to you guys.
Well, I would move that we table this again with the new information until we can talk about it ourselves and among ourselves, look at what we've got out there, consider all our options, or maybe there's other options that people might come up with, but that we don't get in a hurry and agree to something that we may be uncomfortable with later. So I move.
Do we hear a second? Okay, so we have a second. We are voting to table. All those in favor? One. All right, keep your hands up, guys. I see 8. Those opposed? 1, 2. Okay. The yeas are in favor of tabling. Do we want discussion? Bob?
I just wondered if it, and I hope I'm not breaking rules of order here, I wonder if, it seemed to me like it might make sense before Bill goes to the city for him to have a sense of which one of those options we would prefer, so he can, you know, you can't go to the city with 2 different options is all I'm saying. And maybe we have a preference on which of those options we prefer, that so we could get him going.
I agree. Pam?
My motion to table passed, so that's, unless you want to sit on the table.
Jack?
I move that we reconsider our vote of tabling.
Mike, I have a question about it too also. Voting on whether we even want to do it or not versus which plan or whatever. I mean, just do we want to do it parking lot or do we not? I mean, that simple vote.
Can we have another point of order?
I like the point
Elsie?
of orders always.
Discuss.
Well, you can move to consider the different options. You can move to consider the different options, understanding that there will be no vote taken.
Okay.
You can have a straw vote that, just to see where we're at, that has no legislative weight, and just to give people an idea, or you can have a motion to untable it, and in which case you can go that direction. So I just think, and our bylaws allow for, they're not strict on Robert's rules. There's certain things that we need to rule on to keep order. There's other things where, come on, guys, you know, Robert's rules of order were made to rule over court-martials, and this is not a court-martial. So, you know, let's be flexible. And I just think, and I talked to Ivan quite a bit last night, and he's of the same opinion also, because we discussed it at some length, that we need to have more information as far as what we want to do. We need to consider some other ramifications that may come with the berm down there. Is that going to be engineered? Does it have to be engineered? Is the city going to require something down there that we're not planning on? All of those things come into play when you're doing a project this big. And I would hate to see us jump into something, start doing things, and then find out that that we've got to change things around or go a different direction or whatever. So I just think we need to know exactly where we're going before we, you know, really put it into and set it in stone. But as far as the other goes, I mean, we can be flexible and talk about what different options are, or whether we want that, or whether we want to fix the gravel. I mean, I'll throw something out that Ivan and I talked about last night. If we're not ready for a parking lot, we could put a 8-foot sidewalk all the way from our concrete parking spaces to the back, and so that people can get out of their car and walk on the sidewalk up if that's a concern about that. We can also do that on both edges and put a sidewalk in that would allow people to walk on cement after they get out of their cars. So there's a lot of different things out there we could talk about. I just don't think we're ready to make a decision on spending over $100,000 without considering all the ramifications and options.
I agree.
That's my 2 cents.
I agree. I think that it's already been passed that we're not going to have a vote. I would put forward that let's come to consensus of what layout that we would prefer, and just to get an idea on that, and that would be it. Bill was first, and Janet.
I would just like to know maybe a straw vote of what we want to do, so I can go to the city. I need something to take to the city so we can get more information.
Right. Janet. Or Sherry, go ahead.
I second the untable motion from Jack, so we can now discuss it.
Okay, if you second that, then we'll go ahead and discuss with the understanding that we're not going to have a final vote. Is that okay, Janet? All right. Margaret?
I'm not very bright. Okay, you show me these things and I'm going, blah, blah, blah. And then you show me the second one, I'm going, blah, blah. You know. I just need time to go over it and say, what, you know, they talk about so many inches here and so many feet there, and this goes this way and that goes that way, and my brain just goes, ugh.
Understand that. We can have some handouts, Bill, to hand out, and we can do that next Sunday also for anybody that wasn't here to have the options. But we do need to continue to have an idea for Bill to go and to discuss in general what direction we're wanting to go. I think we need to have that discussion. Connie?
Well, I guess I'd like to make a motion to commission Bill to pursue option number 1 without middle islands at all.
Let's put that up, Rich, if you can. Was the diagonal or the straight? The straight option. I think it was the first one. And no middle islands is what I'm sensing that you guys are addressing. And you look at, I mean, if you go to a retail shop, there's no blocks everywhere in those spots. So, I mean, as long as we know where to park. So, is this something that everybody would be interested in, this particular one? Yeah, just asking for a straw vote. Yep. We're just going to have a straw vote. All right, so let's show a sign of hands. No planters in the middle. This concept of a parking lot. Can I hear an amen? Okay, so the angles we're not going to pursue at an angle with the sidewalk in between on that. I think the only question that Pam brought up on this was the handicap. So we would need to know how many handicaps that we can design someplace else on that. And then Elsie, you have your hand up.
We're required to have 4 handicap spaces. We can put as many handicap spaces out there like they are now. They're not legal, but they're reserved. And you don't have to have the 4 foot next to them, which would still give parking to our people up close that need reserved parking without taking extra spaces to put that, to make them legal. So we can reserve anything we want on our parking lot. We're just
Okay.
required by code to have the 4.
And if we follow code, that's the main thing then.
Right, so all we have to do is paint a handicap sign on the pavement and say these are handicap and reserve them for, especially like Sunday
We
morning.
could even personalize them if we wanted
Yeah.
to, right?
That's
This is
true.
Pam's spot. Dale?
Personally, I think that the angle parking will be much better and have one-way traffic around, and that way you don't have so many people trying to back out when you're going the opposite direction and so on. I know I pulled in the Walmart parking lot yesterday and had somebody back out into me, into my right front of my car, so it's all boogered up now, and so on. And that's why I say when you've got traffic both directions, you've got a whole lot more to look at and see and understand. So
I understand that, but I think I say we've been doing that since I've been going here, is both ways and single. All right, let's go, Rich.
I was just going to point out that on the straight-in parking, if we are not required by the city to have those 3 center island planters, those center island planters are the same width as a parking space. So we would get 6 spaces back, and even if we took 4 of those to turn into handicap spaces, we would end up with 2 additional spaces.
Right.
So if
Sure.
the city says we have to have planters but not the center ones, we're not losing anything by adding more handicap spaces there.
And I think this is what we can do here. I mean, we're not going to vote, but what we need information, and information from you guys. So as long as we're meeting code and take that out, we can do that and have a vote in the future as far as another business meeting to add more handicap spots if we want. Connie?
I hope that's my last question. So on the handicap spots, can't you just put one space, like that are diagonaled off between 2 spaces?
Right here?
And eliminate, like make
those
go
angled?
for 2. I mean, that's how they do it at Walmart. So I don't
Again,
know
I
why
think,
each one has to have their own individual exit thing, but they share.
right.
It's a new code.
And I think
Well-
as long as we're meeting code,
I vote Bill Barrett gets on the City Council of Independence.
Pam?
Going back to what Elsie said, but I was looking at it a little differently. If you go to CPRS, in the front, they have handicapped, and I know they don't have the extra space, but they also have reserved spaces. It says reserved. And everybody knows when you go there that you don't park in those. And there's no reason we can't put a sign up that says reserved and then let the people who go here all the time
right,
know that that's what it's for.
yes,
And
I
then-
agree.
And then don't need to worry about.
And all this information is great. I mean, we need to get that out there, I think, well, exactly. So Bill can go to the city. This is what we want. Bill, I would personally just want to confirm on the berm if that is meeting code. I know there's no height restriction, but my concern is if we flood a backyard and it goes into a house, we'd be sued. And then we go back to the city and say, we met your code, we're not responsible for it. That is one of my big concerns. If just putting dirt up there, or does it need to be directed to a specific lake or, you know, someplace that's out by the railroad tracks back there? All right, I'm feeling some love here. We're making progress. We're talking. Any other, Dale? This is your last, you had, what, 4? This is your 5th.
Well, we have my property over on Salisbury, and they built a bunch of buildings along 24 Highway and got parking lots, and so it created massive bunches of water coming down to our house there and so on, and flooded some of the neighbor houses and so forth. So we went to the city and tried to get the city to require them to put in ponds or something to direct the water so they wouldn't come down. We were totally not successful.
Okay, that's one of my big fears is water direction. And until we get a go from the city that just a 2-foot berm going down is fine, then that's something that we can vote on.
Have I talked too many times?
No, Becky, you can.
Okay.
You're unlimited.
Well, if we think outside the box just a tad bit, that idea that LZ proposed with just a sidewalk so people could walk on, not in the mud and the gravel, when they get out of their cars. So it would be 2 8-foot sidewalks.
Where would they be, Elsie?
Well, you have to narrow it a little bit, so that would leave you with your 3 foot over there.
I don't know where over there is.
Along the, right. See, you've got a 10-foot setback, but I don't believe the setbacks apply to sidewalks, only parking. So you could run in that 10-foot area.
This 10-foot area right here.
Right, you could run a sidewalk up there and across to the paved area.
And then that would work into a future asphalt.
Right.
We can just go right up to the sidewalk and do it in stages.
And you wouldn't have as much runoff because part of it would still be gravel.
Well, we got another business meeting for that. How much it's going to cost. Gene?
Going back to the berm thing, have we had any complaints from neighbors across the way about having water flooding into their
Bill?
yards?
I haven't heard of any. Bill's shaking his head no.
So why is that a concern then?
Code. I mean, my understanding is asphalt is a little bit more, not as porous, and more water will go down and not get sunk into the gravel. We don't know how much that is. So first big 100-year rain comes up, and I just want to be prepared for it. So, as do all you. Sherry?
Originally, it was at least hinted at that the person who is going to give the anonymous donation had a timeline. And if we are going to be able to use that money, that's maybe part of the picture of timing or sidewalks?
There's no timeline. There's no timeline, my
okay.
understanding.
Okay. And then sidewalks, would that be part of the picture of of this or not, or?
We could
you know?
vote on it, definitely. Not tonight, but we can discuss that. Bill?
Would it be all right with the congregation if I put a target on the wall that we could track and have a certain amount up there that we're proposing to get money for that amount?
Now we're talking.
And that person who wanted to donate could donate to that fund.
I think that'd be a good idea.
Even though we haven't voted on doing the parking lot yet, so.
I think, who would have a problem with a thermometer over here, even if we haven't voted? James, are you serious? We can put it to a vote.
I understand what you all want to do, but I think we have steps that we need to take care of first before we even get that far. We haven't gotten city approval yet, and I think we should get city approval before we have a vote.
All right. I got a little aggressive there, so. But I think that's a good idea. So, I don't want to direct this, but we need to get Bill, now that Bill knows what kind, and it's this here without the planters. The other planters would be there, right, on the outside, just not the center.
You need the end cap ones.
Right.
Not the center ones.
Right. Can you hear me? There he goes.
Oh, this mic that I have
Now,
in my hand.
Are these new spots over here?
Yes.
Okay.
We would gain 3 spaces by taking out those planters in the center.
I heard 6. You said 3?
I don't understand 6. There's 2 in the middle
There's
and
2.
there's 1 up there.
2 spots, 2 spots, 2 spots.
No, those have to stay. The end cap planters have to stay.
Just the center one?
Just the center one. Right. So we would gain 3
Those
spaces.
2 planters for the volleyball. Right? That one's gone, that one's gone. This one is still there,
Yes.
This one is still there. All right, I'm with you. But this is the general direction that we want to go. More information would be the berm and whether we want to curb the outside and not the center. Do we want to curb the planters?
The planters have to be curbed.
Okay.
Yeah. To keep rainwater from washing out underneath
Right.
the asphalt.
And that wouldn't go underneath the water underneath and mess with the asphalt, correct?
Right.
Okay. Margaret, and then Rachel. Oh, you were just scratching your head. Okay. I thought this was a.
Okay, now at this other end here, people drive down there and park by the trees. So is that going, see right
This-
there, you know, people drive down that little hill there and then go park under the trees and stuff. They so still could do that? I mean, to get to that part of the,
That's runoff.
oh, okay.
Yeah, that
so-
says
okay,
runoff.
drive, okay.
And then this is that going to be asphalted? That right there? Okay. Any other questions? James, I don't think they want to talk. You're forcing the microphone in their face. No. All right. So I would suggest a motion on when we need to come back to do this. Bill, you think another 4 weeks? would be sufficient?
I think so, yes.
I'd like to push it to January if possible, but that's just me. LZ.
We're in the holiday season. You've got Thanksgiving, you've got Christmas, you've got families, you've
I
got
agree.
all that stuff.
Amen.
I think the first of the year would be a good time to revisit this. Or after the first of the year. Yeah, not on January 1.
Yeah, there is no, I mean, the only thing is the cost of asphalt, and I don't know on the quote from
Well,
the
it
asphalt
depends on what
company.
happens in November. It might be going down if the pipeline gets opened.
Exactly. So there is a lot that's going to happen between now and then. I put a motion together. It's seconded by James. We're going to push this off to January. Is that okay? Can I show a hand? It's passed. Let's go home. No, wait. We need to have prayer. We need to dismiss in prayer. Dale, can you say prayer? Microphone.
Our Father in heaven, as we come before you tonight, dear God, help us to think and guide our direction of our thought, that we might do what is best for the whole situation. We ask these things and your guidance in January. Amen.
I think we got a lot of things done tonight. Thank you for coming.